The purpose of my doing this video is I think there is a link between FreshPet and something called Addison's disease in dogs. And I want to let the consumer know or be aware of this issue so that they can discuss it with their vet and probably save the life of their dog. Also, if there is a link, I would like FreshPet to look into it with us and help us figure out what is causing this. And if there is, in fact, a direct link between the product and Addison's. Back in, well, first of all, my dog, Sasha, she is a 6-year-old mixed breed rescue. She weighs about 35 pounds. She's very active, always had been, up until August of this year. I discovered the FreshPet in the refrigerator section at Walmart, and I had been cooking chicken and rice, homemade for the dogs. And when I discovered this, I thought, wow, this is going to save me a lot of time. Although it was a little costly, it would save me a lot of time. I bought a bag of it, brought it home, and she loved it. And then they noticed they had a roll of the brown roasted chicken. I bought that. I gave it to her, and within 48 hours, I noticed a marked difference in her personality. She was sleeping a lot. She wasn't active at all. She actually had stopped eating within 24 hours I gave that to her, and she was drinking tons and tons of water. I attribute it to the fact that it being August, it's hot. We're in the South. And I thought, it's just probably the heat. This went on for several days, and I knew something was wrong. Took her to the vet on, I got my date here, August 28th. He looked her over. He said that she looked all right. He gave her a cortisone injection, to make her feel better. Brought her home, and from that day on, she just got worse and worse and worse. So I started thinking, what changed? What changed in between the time that she was very active and healthy to this dramatic downturn in her activities and her eating? And I said, the FreshPet, that's the only difference, the only thing that has changed. So I got on the internet and I Googled FreshPet recall, thinking, maybe I got a bad batch of food. And I came across this consumer site. There was a whole section. I've got a lot of them printed out here of all of these people, and their dogs had the same symptoms. And I'm sorry if I started to get emotional, but a lot of these people lost their dogs, and I thought, this has got to be it. There's got to be something here. So I took this information up to my vet, and he looked over it. And he said, well, there's no way we can prove one way or the other it is the FreshPet. He gave her some other medications. I brought her home, and she got almost comatose within just a week or so. I actually thought she was dying, and I called back up there up to the vet to tell them that Sasha's getting seriously ill. I took her up there. They gave her her body temperature was very, very low. They put her on a heating pad, gave her fluids. She wasn't eating. And they basically said, we've done just about all we can do. And they sent her home. That night I called him and I said, this isn't going to work. My dog's dying. And the vet tech said there's no reason this dog should be dying. There's something, we got to check something else out. And they have a new vet up there. Her name is Dr. Wolf. And she had seen this type of thing happen in another clinic she was in. And she said, I think it's called something called Addison's disease. And there is a test for Addison's disease. And they ran a simple blood test. They did the blood test, and sure enough, that was it. They gave her the necessary medications. I've got all the information here to go over that with you if you need it. within 48 hours, she was an entirely different dog. She was eating. She was alert. She went from, I don't know if you could see this. This is her the day I took her in when I thought she was dying. This was September 20th. Once she was properly diagnosed, she went to this. This is November 3rd. Totally different dog. So I talked to Dr. Wolf about the FreshPet and was wondering, was I wrong all this time? I feel like that I wasn't wrong. There's something here. There's got to be a link with this FreshPet based on all the other testimonials I have read from this consumer website. All of these cases, they have the same symptoms. I mean, you can almost follow the timeline, or I could follow the timeline from these people to my dog, Sasha. So I don't think FreshPet, well, no, FreshPet's not purposely harming our dogs. They're not. But there's something that's overlooked. There's something that some of these dogs are allergic to in the food, in the makeup of the food, or perhaps the handling and storage of the food after it leaves the factory. I do not believe these refrigerators in the Walmart and Targets and the places where they sell this food, I don't think they're regulated. For instance, I went to one of the Walmarts to pick it up one day, and the refrigerator was off. All the food in there was warmed. And I asked the manager about it, and they said, well, we don't maintain that. There's a third party that comes in and does that. And I started thinking, well, are they just coming in and probably fixing the refrigerator and leaving this food in there, and they're selling bad product? So my main goal in doing this interview is I want everybody out there who has experienced this or is going through this, if their dog is suffering from depression, lack of appetite, vomiting, diarrhea, hair loss, dehydration, shaking, low body temperature, any or a combination of these symptoms, please ask your vet about Addison's disease. It's a simple blood test. It's $120. But after spending $4,000 in her treatment anyway, if we had known to look for this to begin with, it would have been so much easier, not just on her, but her pocketbook. So that's my main goal for doing this. I didn't describe what Addison's disease is when something interferes with the adrenal gland, which produces cortisol. And so when that cortisol is stopped in our pets, it leads to changes in the sodium chloride and potassium, which affects the kidneys, and it causes heart problems and circulatory disease. And it acts very, very quickly. And it is manageable. I mean, once they're diagnosed with it, Sasha gets a shot, just an injection every 28 to 35 days. Once a month, and she's fine. She's a perfectly healthy, normal dog. No, the only thing I have done is, as far as trying to contact FreshPet, is through the Pest Consumer website, because that's where I first found that there was a possible link. That's where I found people who were using FreshPet and who were going through the same thing that I was going through. And a lot of these people were going through worse because they actually lost their pets. Some of them lost two of them. I'm shocked that this amount of people have experienced this, and there hasn't been a calling for FreshPet to look into it. I know they're not doing it on purpose, but there's a link between this product, Addison's disease, and our pets. It's too much of a coincidence for there not to be. Also, I noticed some of the people who have written in to Pest Consumer about this, they would list themselves as anonymous or alias names. And if you look under my input on the Pest Consumer website, I put in the body of my complaint, I put my name, my address, my phone number, because I didn't want to hide, because I wanted FreshPet to have a way to reach out to me, because certainly I hope they have people monitoring this, because the amount of people in here experience this problem, it's too many to ignore. And I would like FreshPet to let us know that they are aware that there could be a link between their product and certain illnesses that these dogs are experiencing. Again, like I said, there's way too many of these for them to be a coincidence. I mean, they're all across the country. All of them have one thing in common. All of them have been fed FreshPet. All of them have had basically the same symptoms. One thing they don't all have in common is some survived, some died. We're lucky that we had a very good vet who thought to look at something called Addison's disease. I would like FreshPet to at least acknowledge that possibly there could be something going on. Let us consumers know they're aware of it, they're looking into it, and then, take it from there. Maybe they do need to have their formula looked at again. Maybe it's not perfect food for all dogs. Maybe their formula is good for a certain weight of dog. It's kind of like, any kind of a medicine. Medicines are given based on weight or age. Maybe this food needs to be looked at the same way. That the product may need to be stepped back and not given as the only diet of food for certain dogs. To me, I just have way too many questions as to why I'm having trouble putting this into, what I want FreshPet to do, other than acknowledge there's something going on here, and let's look at it. I'm not looking to sue anybody. I'm looking to save dogs' lives. That's all I want to do. Also, I want to call out to FreshPet. Please listen to us. We're not out to get you. We want you to help us make a better product, put better products in the consumer's hands, because we love our animals. They're our kids. Most of us, they're our kids. And just FreshPet, listen. If a consumer calls, listen to us, and just do some investigating. Maybe there is something in the product that some dogs are allergic to, and you're not aware of it.